From the studios of Staten Island Community Television, you're watching In the Bleachers, the TV show for the world's most passionate sports fans. And hello and happy Labor Day, everyone. I'm Jamie Hickson. Usually you see me here with my dear friend Eric Rosen, but Eric took the holiday off so he can spend some time with his family, but he is going to be joining us just in time for the start of the NFL season. And by the way, speaking of the NFL, I am happy to announce the return of the Blitz Zone, which is going to be taking place this coming Friday night on CTV. You can check them out either on Channel 1997 on Time Warner and Channel 37 on Fios. So it's going to be Eric and I in the Blitz Zone this coming Friday night. You could catch us on our season premiere then. And what a way to actually start the football season, because we have been blessed with three very, very special guests, two of whom you might have seen before. It happens to be my dear friend Ralph Williams. It's good to see you again, Coach. How are you?
I'm all right, and yourself?
Very good, thank you. And to my left, that's your brother over there, Lee Michael Dobson, your coaching brother,
Yes,
that
indeed.
is.
Yes, indeed.
And also joining us is the president of the Pioneer Football League. Can you please go and introduce yourself, sir?
My name is David Patterson. I'm the owner and operator of the Pioneer Football League, the league that we're so blessed to have the Staten Island Bandits as part of our organization.
It's really great to have all of you over here. As that old song goes, are you ready for some football?
Oh, we definitely
indeed.
are.
Yes,
we
indeed.
definitely are.
Yes, indeed.
It's going to be an exciting season. Actually, my son Anthony's here with us because we're on our way to the Jets-Eagles game where the Pioneer Football League's having an event. We have 4 teams that are playing at halftime of the Jets-Eagles game, and we have a bunch of kids that are in attendance, including the Staten Island Bandits. So we thank Chase Bank and the New York Jets for giving us the opportunity. We have like over 400 people coming, plus football players. It's going to be a great night for heads-up football.
Definitely.
This was such a coup that you guys scored, for lack of a better word, getting the help from the Jets and from Chase, specifically from the Jets, who have done so many great things for the tri-state area community. How was the contact initiated?
Well, one of our organizations reached out, was reached out by the Jets as to how they could get involved in a community-based organization that was in the Bronx, specifically designed with football. So that organization is one of our partnering companies called My Healthy Community. It's a 501c3, concentrates on not just football, although they do have a football team that plays in our high school division. They have a bunch of different great programs for kids to get involved in sports and healthy eating habits and things like that. So thank you to Karim and MHC for making the initial contact. And from there, we just do exactly what our organizations do. We're very heavy in terms of media coverage. We're very heavy when it comes to our Facebook page, our website, which is pioneer-league.com. Our league is truly a league for the players, and I think the Jets saw that, and it made us a prime candidate for the donation.
I failed to mention that you actually have your son here, Anthony Patterson. Is Anthony a big football fan?
He is a huge football fan. I think today will be his 20th or 30th football game. So he's been to Jets camp. We were actually at training camp a couple weeks ago for Youth Football Day. So he was out there. Had an absolute great time. The Staten Island Bandits were there supporting. As you can see, we have our Jets outfit on. We're ready to go. We had a lot of players come out and sign autographs. So the Jets organization has done nothing but great things. And, I mean, all the way from God, I don't even want to leave anybody out in terms of the players. We had
Davis.
Mm-hmm.
We had
I forgot a couple of the O-line names off the top of my head.
number 79, number 68,
Yeah.
66.
So many of the players came over and signed autographs and such. Brandon Marshall, a big-time player who just came over in free agency. So, like, golly, it's been a great time. And Chase Bank last year came out to one of our practices right in the Bronx and took Willie Colon, who is a Bronx native, and him and a couple other Jets staff and players were out there going through drills with the kids. So we've been blessed. We definitely have. But we've worked hard for it, and a lot of things, again, is based on the fact that we're so player-friendly. We have a weekly Sports Center show that we do on our website, so you can actually see the kids do some broadcasting stuff. We have some kids that are interested in broadcasting careers and doing things.
That's good.
Yeah. So we're
really good.
Yeah, we have an actual education program within the Pioneer Football League, which is focused on college and career readiness and development. So because we have high school as well and collegiate guys, we've actually had a number of players that are now transitioned onto college rosters.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, we have kids on Division 1, 2, 3, and junior college level as well. Throughout, we have a couple kids that signed at Buffalo State. We have a couple kids that we have a kid at Howard University playing, Benedict College. So it's definitely been a great time, and that's what it's about: is seeing a kid go from a little Staten Island Bandit, and the Bandits program has been with us for a number of years. So we have some of those kids that are doing great things, building families, having kids on their own that are running around and such. So it's been a great time.
Definitely, and
This is
this is one of the things that the Pioneer League helps us bring to the community of Staten Island, which is not just football but a higher education, helping these kids get to the next level in life.
How much do you stress education to these kids?
Every day, every single day, all throughout the summer. We practice 3 to 4 days a week early in the morning in the summer. Reason being why we practice early in the morning is to get these kids up and ready for school early in the morning. We know that's the hardest thing for these young athletes is getting up in the morning. If they have that constant ethic in getting up early, I got practice, and getting up for school is no problem.
Just to give you an idea, it's the Pioneer Football League. We have one of their postcards over here. And we see that not only is there a team here on the island, but there are teams in each of the other 4 boroughs and Long Island. Talk about being the boss of the Pioneer Football League. How long have you been on the job, and what made you decide to take on such a great responsibility?
Well, it's pretty funny because the National Football League sent me out to Indianapolis. We were named as one of the top 500 youth football programs in the nation. And we started, this is our 4th year in operation. And in just those 4 years, we took a plan that worked on a collegiate development level. It actually started with the New York Spartans, which were based out of the Bronx. It was a minor league team that I owned, which you saw we have some championships from that particular product. And from there, we had such a great product, and the kids were really appreciating. We said, well, this will work in any borough, Staten Island, the Bronx, Brooklyn. So it was just about replication, and part of that replication came with bringing on people like the brothers here that
It's okay.
like the Staten Island Bandits, who were like-minded owners of organizations that really wanted to do things like that. So, our league is not, part of the boss thing is, our league is not for everybody. There's some programs that are not a good fit. And these guys, they see us having a ton of fun, but there's a lot of work that goes into it, and we move along pretty well.
As far as being the boss of the whole league itself, does it differ from, let's say, being the boss of a major league like the NFL or the NBA or Major League Baseball or the National Hockey League, or is it one and the same? Describe a typical day on the job for you, running the Pioneer League.
Well, it's funny you say that because the Pioneer League is it's not a revenue source for me or my family. I'm actually a New York City teacher.
Very good.
Right in the Bronx, I teach at a middle school, PSMS 31, which is right down the street from Yankee Stadium. So
that's good.
This is. I mean, it turned. It's funny because we started 4 years ago, and it started out as a hobby, and our hobby turned into a $150,000 enterprise. That again, every dollar that comes into the Pioneer Football League goes out to these kids. We're not paying salaries for anybody, including myself. It's a completely volunteer organization, and it's just growing exponentially. More so than I thought from 4 years ago. So my typical day is getting my lesson plans, teaching, getting my 7th and 8th grade social studies classes together, and getting my middle school kids prepared to get to high school. And then afterwards, I actually part owner of a minor league team as well that runs. It actually just won their championship 3 or 4 weeks ago, called the Bronx Colts. And then from there, I also have practices I go to, run around the practices. But we have a lot of guys that are on staff now as we're growing that are going to practices and making sure that everything is on the up and up.
Of the two jobs, which would you say is the toughest? Being a teacher or running the Pioneer League?
Teacher. Teacher is definitely tougher than this. Like, this is my vacation, and although I know you want some water. Vacation for me is being on the football field. So I apologize.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, you've been so busy that you're getting a phone call as we speak.
Yeah, that's pretty much a day. It's funny that my wife, when she looks at the phone bills and sees that these phone calls keep coming in, it's never the same person. It's always different teams, different issues that come up. So one of our organizations, the Tri-State Football Conference, which is a way that we kind of get everything more manageable, because the Tri-State Football Conference, they have 4 of our organizations housed within it. So we're kind of like doing subsidiaries. So we're actually looking to branch out, and with donations that were made from the New York Jets, we're still looking in the future to continue those. Not that we want our current teams to end up with more and more things. We actually want to branch out into areas that we're not in right now, like northern New Jersey. We want to get out to the areas that we don't hit. Brooklyn, we don't have that much in right now. We want to expand in Brooklyn. In fact, our championship game is at the Brooklyn Cyclone Stadium, MCU Park.
Very good.
That's a way to kind of get our name out there, and everybody knows kind of who we are. But again, we want certain teams that have certain standards that we want to move forward with.
In addition to the teams that are in the New York area, how many teams do you have overall?
That's the funny thing. Some of our organizations carry multiple age groups. So we have 8 and under, 10 and under, 12 and under, 14 and under, and then our 18 and under product. So altogether, we have in or around 44 teams that operate within our parameters one way or another. We also have some affiliate programs that play adult football, so that's like 18 and up. So we have essentially a kid can come into the Pioneer Football League at 5 years old and keep on playing somewhat in the Pioneer Football League until they retire from whatever job career that they choose. So,
and this is what we're offering for Staten Island, the Pioneer Football League product, starting from the ages 8, going all the way up to the age of 18. We're looking for guys to come out, sign up, play, have a good time, be a part of a good organization, get themselves a fine education while they're at it, and be productive.
You guys are going to be starting your season pretty soon. When is your season opener, and who are you going to be going up against?
Our season opener is September 12th. We'll be going against Long Island Spartans.
Talk about the league in general, as far as who is the one team to look out for, also who the defending champion is, and also how do you see things going for the Bandits?
Well, the defending champions are the Long Island Spartans, and to me it's going to be interesting to see how we pan out, because we have a lot of young kids, a lot of inexperienced kids, but they're good. So it's gonna be real interesting.
Definitely.
It's like, I can't wait.
I should mention, you guys actually decided to look after the young team that you're going to be coaching this year. Last year you coached the young adults, but this time you're going to be coaching the youth program. What age does your team, or what age bracket is your team under?
We're under the 14U, but we do have some very young kids, as young as 10. But that's just to mold them for next year, so we can branch down and get the 10Us, get the 12Us, like that.
How many age divisions are there?
It's 10Us, 12U, 14U, and 18U, so we'll be about 4.
Is there a difference in coaching each division, or is it all the same?
Very big difference. Very big difference. With young minds become a young attitude. So, you have some with the 8-year-olds, they have a lot of energy. So you really got to watch them, teach them, and mold them versus kids that have that experience at 12, 14, and 18.
Interesting. Who do you feel is the more receptive to coaching?
I would say the intermediates, anywhere between 12U and 14U.
Mm-hmm. Here's some food for thought. There's been a lot, emphasis on a lot, of talk about the high number of concussions that have been going on in the sport. Have you guys spoken to the players in regards to maybe the proper tackling techniques or leading with the head or anything of that nature?
I'm glad that you asked that. One of the things that we did with the New York Jets and Chase Bank was we require our coaches to be heads-up certified.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so very critical. If your child is involved in youth football and your organization is not heads-up certified, you need to find another program. Football is not you can't consider it to be it's not going to be a harmless sport. But to tell you the truth, it's a contact sport, but in the same regard, there are ways to reduce the amount of injuries. You're going to have freak occurrences, and I've had players that have, broken arms and what have you. But we had one kid who went through the game absolutely fine, and then was playing around after the game on the jungle gym, and on the jungle gym broke his arm.
Oh, okay.
So, kids are going to have injuries, they're going to have issues, things happen, what have you. But when it comes to the actual game of football, the heads-up football techniques is what really is setting programs apart from the typical, sandlot football. And, we say the word sandlot, when I say the word sandlot football, it really doesn't explain what we do here, because our teams are playing in multi-million-dollar facilities. Evander Childs High School, for example, the Take the Field program, John F. Kennedy High School in the Bronx, to name a few. These are the field turf facilities are $7-8 million facilities. So you're not doing the whole we're just hanging out in the park and find a patch of grass and put some lines on it. That's not what we're about. Even up to our high school level. Our high school level, we have for some of our games more fans than PSAL does for.
That's really interesting, considering that high school football is usually that one stepping stone to try to get to the next level, which is college, which is another stepping stone to get to the higher league, which is the NFL, or maybe to a lesser extent Canada, in the event that they're unable to cut it in the NFL.
And that doesn't always happen.
Mm-hmm.
And this also gives these children another route into getting that, or following that dream, or achieving that goal. Because not everyone plays in high school, not everyone has that chance to get on the field and show their talents. And at the same time, not everyone gets that film.
So you let these guys know that once they make it into the Pioneer League, that there's no guarantee that they're going to try and get to the next level.
No guarantee that you're going to get to the next level, but there's a possibility if you work hard enough, your work ethic is there, and your grades are right, there's nothing you can't achieve.
Speaking of grades, is there a certain GPA that the kids have to meet in order to participate?
Yes, my intermediates must have 75 or better to participate. 65 is just average, and we don't settle for average children.
So you definitely want these kids to be at the top of the line in the classroom.
Indeed.
Just
If
out
not
of
the
curiosity.
Top, near the top.
Just out of curiosity, do you offer some kind of tutoring program to the kids in the event that they might need help?
Yeah, we also at the UAU Community Center in our neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And we provide as much help as we can for those that need it.
Now, let's talk a little bit more about the Bandits.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are going to be going into the Long Island game on the 12th, the defending champions. What do you think it's going to take to try and dethrone the Spartans this year?
Defense.
And hard work.
Mm-hmm. Talk more about your defense. Who are some of the guys in that back 11 that Staten Island fans should watch for?
Well, safety, Tavon Claxton. Linebackers, what's his name?
Matthew. We have John Meek. He just came from another team from last year. Another gentleman by the name of Hassan. He just came from another team. So we're picking up more kids and new guys every week. Guys like James, he's going to be out there. Damani, he's going to be out there. These guys have been out there all summer long practicing and scrimmaging.
I'm noticing the rosters on some of the New York area teams. I see that the Bronx has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different teams in the Bronx alone.
Yes.
Our organization is centered out of the Bronx. That's where it kind of grew from, and that's what kind of makes us unique. Is that most youth football programs, I think there's 5 or 6 of them, we're the only one that's really based out of the Bronx. I think our location and our way of doing things really has kind of separated us from everybody. Now, when you mix in a Staten Island team or a Long Island team, you get the travel between the two teams is something and a dynamic that our kids in the city are not usually exposed to, and that's what makes us so dynamic. Last year alone, Pioneer Football League teams played games in the states of Delaware, Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. We've had teams play Massachusetts. We played New Hampshire, North Carolina last year, and Charlotte for the playoffs. We've actually had last year, especially in-season travel, where you have your regular, kind of like in the college football model. I was a Lafayette guy, and you played some of these crossover games with Ivy League schools. You'd play at Princeton or Harvard or what have you. And I remember just you have your traditional rivals, but those crossover games where you're playing in a stadium in a place that you ordinarily don't play, like the Long Island Spartans last year got to go down to Essex County Community College in Maryland. A nice brand new facility, nice, very very nice down there, and those kids get the experience of getting on a bus. Some of them get in the suit and tie and there's the shirt and ties and get on the bus like it's like they're in college and what have you. And it's trips like those and things like that that really makes us different than most organizations. So like that dynamic where you have the Bronx and you have kids that, and I'll be honest with you, some of our teams are based in very low income areas. Parents that make $15,000-$20,000 a year, and then we have another team that parents will make $200,000-$300,000 a year. The common thing is that when we get on the football field, it's a Pioneer League family across the board, and I think that's a dynamic that you rarely see. So like when we talk about the Bandits and Spartan game this week, the dynamic of the Long Island Spartans have a very potent passing game. They have a quarterback that he's actually the son of the owner on the older division, and this kid can throw the ball like you wouldn't believe. Wow. They're really disciplined. They usually have a running back that is an absolute force. They run off tackle with purpose. They have pulling linemen, which is a rarity that you see. Even their 10 and unders can actually pull across formations with their guard and tackle play. So what I like to see, because I saw the Bandits when we did our PFL media day, which was at DeWitt Clinton High School in the Bronx, they started to open up the passing game as well. And in high schools in New York, a lot of high schools in New York, especially on the 1 level and the 3 level, they don't pass the ball very often. Yeah. At all, and and some of the fans kind of get bored with this game. The air, you're going to be able to see it, and we have things like we have UStream and we have the video coverage and stuff like that, so you can actually see the highlights and see some of these kids. But don't think that you're going to see 2 yards in a cloud of dust on this thing. The ball is going to be thrown through the air, and the kids are going to catch it, and they know exactly what they're doing.
This is really interesting how you mentioned the style of play, because as we all know, the higher level of league has become a real quarterback, wide receiver oriented game. Of the two styles, which do you prefer? Do you prefer more of that aerial attack, or would you like to see a little bit more of ground and pound, if you will?
When it comes down to it, football is kind of like music. There's certain times that you want to hear, a song that's going to get you really amped up to play. There's certain times where you really just want to hear a song that you could chill out to and hang out and what have you. Oh, so thank you, guy. So when it comes down to it, you're going to get a variation of the Bronx Yellow Jackets will come out in a wing tee, and they're going to run some misdirection stuff. They're going to slant on the line and stuff like that. Then you're going to run some pro-style offenses. Then you're going to run into some heavy I formation offenses. And all of them are beautiful to see, absolutely beautiful to see, because at the end of the day, it's still football.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious to know about what you guys are going to be doing for the majority of this season. What kind of philosophy are you going to be bringing into each game this year?
Well, we plan on bringing a lot of intensity, and more importantly, we want the kids to have a good attitude and have some fun.
Mm-hmm.
We run a nice offense and definitely a very good defense. We've been running the same offense now for the past 4 years. A lot of the older guys know, and some of the younger guys that we run into from years past, they also know. It's time for us to get reconnected with some of these youthful guys out here on Staten Island. We want some of you guys to come down, join, have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Our roster will not be locked until October 31st, so you have plenty of time too. Our fees are just right, so it's not too expensive, not at all. And Travel League football is where it's at right now, especially in the Pioneer League. Shout out to the New York Jets and Chase Manhattan Bank. Thank you very much. We definitely appreciate it.
How many on the roster?
As of right now, we got 21 young men on the roster.
And as far as who takes care of the offense and the defense, are you mostly on the offensive side of the football or the defensive side?
No, I'm mostly on the defensive side. My brother heads up the offense. He's more the offensive coordinator when it comes to that. Our quarterback, Vaughn, from 51, he's handling it and making a very good job of it as well, too.
Did pretty good in the preseason. Out of 105 plays, we have 26 touchdowns, so that's a decent percentage.
Mm-hmm. As far as coaching philosophy, we've seen so many guys bring a different level to the game. Some are yellers and screamers. Some keep a very, very, very even keel type of mentality, almost to the point where they have like a little Joe Torre to them. What do you guys bring to the sidelines that the players can expect?
Well, I'm more of a mild, laid-back coach. He's
Mm-hmm.
more the intense one.
I'm more of a motivating, I'm more of the, intense coach that's going to help the guys. When they think they can't do something, I'm going to push them and let them know that they can. I've done it plenty of times. We've been doing it all summer long. You always have one or two guys, I can't run to the left, or I can't do this. And when you put them in the right situation at the right time and you say the right thing to them, magic happens. Magic happens.
So basically, you played to your players' strengths, correct?
Exactly. All the time.
As far as what you want to bring to a particular game, for example, offensively, will we be seeing you guys air the ball out a lot, or are you going to be concentrating more on keeping it on the ground?
I would say even kill. I would say everyone to get their touches, everyone to have a good time. That's what it's all about.
Do you guys utilize the tight ends a little bit in the passing game at all, or do you mostly have them block?
We utilize every man on our roster.
Every man on that field.
So basically, these guys are mostly two-way players, correct?
Some of them, yes.
Would you prefer that you have two-way players, or would you like to see them maybe concentrate on a set position?
I would prefer that my guys concentrate on the set position, but that comes with registration and the body count. The more bodies we have, the more guys can focus on that one position and that one goal. But when you have, a small team like 22 or 25, everyone knows that guys are going to have to play 2 and 3 positions.
Is there a limit as far as how many players a team can have on the roster?
That's the thing about it. Our roster limit technically is 55, but it's hard. We want everybody to play. And another great thing about what we do is that there are certain teams that are a little further developed than other teams. However, everybody in the program knows that, I like to say, sometimes you're the dog, sometimes you're the hydrant.
Yeah.
And when it's your time to be the dog, just remember that at one point or sometime in the very near future, you may
were
be
the
the hydrant again.
There you go.
So, the teams, they say take it easy on one, but they understand that it's about teaching the kids the game of football. So you're not going to see 60-0. You're not going to see, bad sportsmanship because again, we're on these trips together. We're heading down to Virginia Beach the last week of November for a invitational, and we do that not just one organization
really
or whatever.
nice.
We invite everybody to come do it and everybody to come and take part in it or what have you. So, it's things like that again, we went down to Delaware to play the Atlantic Coast Youth Football League in a kind of not round robin, but our teams against their teams or what have you. And again, the kids met kids just like them from Delaware, and they understand that we attach what we do to academics. And I teach history, and a lot of what I teach, I'm sitting here trying to teach a kid about the American Revolution, and the kid's never been outside of the city. So, that makes it extraordinarily difficult to work with. But we figure out a way to get it done.
And this past, throughout the spring and the summer, we've been fortunate enough to take some of the children on great trips like Dorney Park. They got a chance to go down to Florham Park and visit the Jets and get autographs and things of that nature. As a matter of fact, this evening, we're taking a group of guys out to see the Jets-Eagles game tonight.
There you go.
So, it will be the unveiling of the Pioneers Staten Island Bandit uniforms along with the other teams in the league. And we plan on having a good time this evening.
Speaking of the uniforms, for the guys who want to be able to see you play, what color uniforms are you going to be wearing this year?
Well, our uniforms are black and gold. I think we have black pants this year. We also have gold jerseys. We wear a black helmet, and we look very nice. The young men look very nice.
Black and gold. So it's basically sort of along the lines of the New Orleans Saints, correct? Because they also have black and gold in their uniforms. As a defensive coach, do you utilize more of a 4-3 or a 3-4?
Neither. I use a 3-3-5.
Interesting. So you play nickel defense.
Yes.
What do you feel the nickel does that can help your defense gain the upper hand against a particular opponent?
Well, by using the talent of my players, by me knowing what they can and cannot do, it helps me put the offense in certain situations that I can take advantage of. If I got a guy that can play a nickel, can cover and can tackle, then I can use this man in very different ways.
You have the most rambunctious child right now. I think he's just so excited that football season is here that he can't even contain himself.
Is this the first streaker that you've had in your studio?
Yes, I would say this is the very first one. But the best part about it is we had the table and the graphic over here that blocked out everything. So don't have to get into it any further, but yeah. So, as far as the league as a whole, where do you see the league going?
Well, that's the thing about it. We want to replicate our product. So everything that Chase and the New York Jets have donated to us, including uniforms, helmets, shoulder pads, everything to make the game as safe as possible. A lot of programs, when they struggle, they use the same helmets for 5, 6, 7 years. That's part of the dangers of football, is just having the right equipment. So as we actually have an initiative that we make sure that all of our programs replace the equipment that they were given to by the Jets. So what they do is they fundraise, and then they take those dollars and replace the helmet within 3 years. They replace the jersey, the uniform that they're given within 3 years. So it allows us to continue and devote those dollars into other programs.
Here's some food for thought. As coaches, do you guys, what do you guys do to make things fresh for each game? Because it seems like we're seeing the same exact thing over and over again on television, but do you guys bring anything different to a game that you may use in a game, or do you basically use the same schemes?
Well, depending on the team we play, we tailor that scheme that week to that team.
And how many games for the season?
Well, I believe we have 8 regular season games.
Yeah, 8 regular season in the bye.
You're playing 8 regular season games. Are you going to be playing against all of the teams in the league?
All the teams in our division except for the Bronx Panthers.
And who makes up your division?
The Long Island Spartans, the Bronx Steelers, the Bronx Colts,
Coney Island
Sharks,
and ourselves.
And our Staten Island Bandits.
Okay. And what's the name of your division?
This is a 14U intermediate.
Okay. Now, for those who might want to get their football fix on, where do they go and what do they do? Where are you going to be playing your home games this year?
But we will hope to play our home games at New Hope High School. Right now, that's in the making.
Yeah, it hasn't been written in stone yet. We're still, reaching out and communicating with Coach Murphy over there, but we're looking forward to trying to make that happen.
Mm-hmm. And in case you were wondering, the president of the league actually had to chase after his little tyke, so hopefully he'll be joining us in just a few minutes.
Our first three games we're on the road. Well, we'll be taking on Long Island, the first game, last year's champion. Our second game, we'll be heading out to the Bronx, and we'll be taking on the Colts. And then our third roadie would be the Coney Island Sharks. Yes, indeed. So we got 3 road games, 3 tough ones in a row. Trust me, Staten Island. We would love for some of you young men to come down and have a good time. The games are filmed, some of them live on Ustream, as Mr. Patterson will be able to explain more on that.
Yeah, that actually reminds me. As far as broadcasting coverage, you're strictly online, correct?
The league takes care of the broadcasting part of that.
All of our stuff is actually, again, we don't pay anybody that's on staff, so a lot of the things that we do has to be generated on our own. So all the stuff is filmed by myself and our trustees, who are made up of former players who are like 20 to 24 years old. They do a lot of work. Great job. Shamel, we have a guy, one of our personalities called The Fridge, and The Fridge is definitely a person that if he goes down to PFL games, the kids recognize him, and he gives interviews. We actually have done
Good
for
guy.
our little guys
Good guy.
in-game huddle cam. So we actually have the live stream where you can go in there and we ask the kids questions like, hey, what's your favorite subject, or what school you go to, and they give shout outs to their teachers and things like that. So it's about having fun, because again, if you have such a strict, rigid way of doing things and such, the kids, it gets that super competitive, and that's what you see on like Friday night tykes when coaches are so out of control because they think they're coaching the Super Bowl and such. We like to have a ton of fun. So yeah, put a camera in the huddle. You'll see me out at all the games. You'll see Anthony at all the games. We have an absolute ton. It's about having fun first, because if the kid has a negative experience, he's going to quit the game.
Do you think there's a chance that maybe we could bring our cameras over to a game sometime?
Absolutely. Our schedule is online. Cameras are always welcome to our games, and we are definitely looking forward to kind of expanding what we do. We do our weekly Sports Center show, and a lot of it's kind of like pieced together as we go, because we definitely need help, especially when it comes to the media end.
For people that want to know more about the league, where do they go and what do they do?
The website is the best way to do it. We're on Facebook, and Facebook kind of repeats everything that our website does, but it's Pioneer League on Facebook, and pioneer-league.com, which it has the hyphen in between, and you'll see on our cards that we have all of our information. Very few people contact us on the phone, because how society is nowadays. We're so social media driven, but you'll see players and parents, they'll post the pictures from games, short video clips, things like that, and that's what makes this thing so great. I mean, there's nothing better in early November, where the playoff races are going, to see who makes the playoffs and stuff like that, and we have literally up to the second. Hey, update from Staten Island. The Bandits have just won, so
That's good.
they're now if this particular team loses, then they get the playoff spot. We follow it to the T like that much. Yeah.
Looks
We're
like
also
someone
on
cranky.
Facebook as
He
well.
wants to get to the Jets game, and he's like, yes.
He cannot wait to get to MetLife
Wanna go to
Stadium.
the
Yeah,
gym?
it's about that
yeah,
time.
we have our Jets.
Yeah.
With another 20 some odd minutes left, as far as fan support, how would you say the size of the fans are?
Well, our venues are really part of the character of what we do. Let me give you an example. On a typical weekend, you can go down to East River Park, right under the Williamsburg Bridge. You don't pay anything to get in, and you can see a New York City Lion team play right on the field as the yachts go right down. I think that's the East River, floating right down, and it's a great football ambiance. Then at halftime, take the FDR right up to Harlem. You go to 128th Street to see the Harlem Jets, which is a national powerhouse. One of their younger teams was actually national champions last year. And Coach Mel and Coach Kevin Wiggins and the rest of those guys do a wonderful, wonderful job with those kids. So their high school division is in the Pioneer Football League, and you'll see some great action up in Harlem. So then on Saturday, you can go over to 161st Street, see the Bronx Colts right in the shadow of Yankee Stadium, which is an awesome experience. And again, all of these are free venues. You can go over to Crotona Park, have some barbecue, I got the empanadas and things like that.
Oh, you're speaking my language now.
Yeah,
I love empanadas.
Yeah, as you check out a Panther game or a Steelers game or a Bronx Vikings game, the four of the teams play directly at that site. They go alternate between that and St. Mary's Park. You can head out to Long Island, out to Walt Whitman High School for a night game, and you'll see the barbecues out there. They'll deliver pizza for you and the whole bit.
Nice.
And Staten Island Bandits are definitely part of that. You go out to a Staten Island Bandit game, you're gonna be treated to, and things are so expensive nowadays. What better way to spend an afternoon, or we have Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, usually night games as well. We try to spread it out so that we get coverage to all the teams.
Do you have halftime entertainment at all, like they do in the higher leagues?
Oh,
Do you have
yes,
bands
the Tri-State has a cheerleading squad that is really really impressive. The different teams do different things during halftime, and again, it's part of the character, part of the makeup of the team. So, like if you go to a Harlem Jets game, they have the fish fry there is going to be pretty good.
Serious, definitely.
Serious.
Very good.
So,
Let's see. To wrap up, what do you think it's going to take to bring a championship back to Staten Island?
Oh man, I would say we need some more participants, heavy participants, and just us playing hard, keeping it out there, doing what we do best. We've been out there since February, February 7th to be exact. So the more kids we get participating and coming out and having a good time, I think the better our chances will be of bringing the trophy home this year.
Well, I know you guys have a lot to do, so we're going to actually call it a night early. But guys, thank you,
Thank you. I appreciate
so
it, Jamie. Thank you very
much.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Patterson, thank you so much.
thank you for having us.
Coach Dobson, thank you very, very much. What we're going to do is we're going to take this quick break, and then I'm going to give some final thoughts on what's been going on in the world of sports. So stick around. Welcome back, everyone. Now, before I move on, I want to give a quick word of thanks once again to Ralph Williams and Lee Michael Dobson and David Patterson for taking time out of what had to be a very busy schedule for them to join us. And if you want to get your football fix on, definitely check these guys out with the Staten Island Bandits. The best part is they're going to be right in our own neighborhood, and the atmosphere seems to be really good. And we're going to see if CTV can bring their cameras over to film at least one or two of their home games this year. Now, speaking of football, there's been a lot of stuff going on recently in the NFL. The season's going to be starting this coming Thursday night with Patriots and Steelers. And as it turns out, Tom Brady is going to be taking the snaps from under center on the Patriots after all. His suspension has officially been lifted by the federal judge. And, of course, the NFL was going to do the appeal process, which is basically protocol for them. But when you think about it, deflating a football is not as catastrophic as, say, a domestic violence case or bringing a gun or using that gun on somebody, God forbid, or even drug abuse. When you think about it, deflating a football is pretty childish compared to some of the other stuff that's going on. That was basically a slap in the wrist. At the same time, what kind of message does this send to the other 31 teams in the league, seeing Brady and the Patriots have this whole thing basically wiped clean, it's going to get to a point where somebody is going to want to do their Patriots impersonation and try and pull something a little bit more shady. But the bottom line is the judge made his decision, so it looks like the Patriots are going to be at full strength for the majority of the season, and it's looking more and more like they're going to be challenging for another championship, which would be their fourth title. I think their fifth title, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it would be their fifth title that they're going to be challenging for. As far as the rest of the NFL, the rest of the schedule is going to be taking place on Sunday. Here in our neck of the woods, the Jets are going to be squaring off against the Browns in their home opener. The Giants are going to start the season in Dallas. As far as what the future holds for the Jets and the Giants, I'll put it this way. The Jets are going to be a better team than the Giants this year. At least the Jets have something going for them at receiver, at running back. I still think they need work on the offensive line, but defensively, they look like they might be able to keep themselves in games this year. I still am not sold on their quarterback rotation. Ryan Fitzpatrick is complete fool's gold. Bryce Petty, I think, is about a year or two away from really, really being taken seriously as a top-notch quarterback in that game. I like the Matt Flynn signing. I really think he should be given more of a chance because even though he's been an under 500 quarterback for his career, I just don't think that he has gotten a fair shake with any of the teams that he's been on. The majority of his time in the league has been with the Green Bay Packers, but I would like to see him get a little bit more of a fair shake now that he's wearing green and white. The Giants, they're going to be a complete and unmitigated disaster this year. I mean, granted, they have something going for them at receiver, but their offensive line stinks. They're still in rebuild mode. And because of that, Eli Manning is going to have major problems protecting the football and himself this year. The running game seems to be a big question mark right now. I mean, Rashad Jennings is okay, but as far as everything else, the defense looks abysmal. They did not stop anybody during the preseason. Who's to say that they may not be the worst defense in the entire league right now, especially with the way they played during the preseason? Now, as far as what's going on with the other divisions, now that Tom Brady is back, definitely look for the Patriots to repeat in the AFC East. I think the Dolphins will be improved, especially defensively, now that they have Ndamukong Suh. I'm still not sold on the quarterback, though. Ryan Tannehill still has a lot to prove in my eyes. Buffalo, now that they have Rex Ryan as their head coach, things are going to be a little bit more dramatic with them. But they still have major problems at quarterback. Tyrod Taylor, I think, is unproven. Now that Fred Jackson's been released, they're going to have a real problem in the backfield. Defensively, I think they're pretty sound right now, but I don't see Buffalo being more than a 500 team right now. As far as the AFC North is concerned, I still think it goes through Baltimore. I think right now they're the best team in the league. Joe Flacco is just excellent. Defensively, I think they're going to be better than people think. Pittsburgh may be going into rebuilding mode. A couple of their guys defensively wound up retiring, specifically Troy Polamalu. Offensively, I think they'll be sound with Roethlisberger at quarterback and his crop of receivers. But bottom line, I don't think that the Steelers are going to be any more than an 8 or 9 win team this year. Cincinnati, I think they're going to be not as bad as people think. Some people think that the Bengals are going to take a step down this year. I just don't see it happening right now. The only problem with them is Andy Dalton has really, really regressed at quarterback. So I want to see exactly what the Bengals do. And also, could this be the last that we see of Marvin Lewis? He's been on the firing line for about 2 years now. And if the Bengals take a step back, don't be surprised if you see him getting his walking papers. Cleveland is going to be abysmal. The quarterback situation stinks. Offensive line is good, but who's going to be taking the brunt of the carries at running back? Who's going to be getting the load at receiver? They really don't have anything other than a rather decent offensive line right now. In the AFC South, that is the division for the Colts to win or lose. The Colts are the superior team in the South. In fact, I think they win not only the South, but they represent the AFC in the Super Bowl this year. That's my first prediction. Tennessee will be slightly better with Marcus Mariota at quarterback, but they're still about 2 or 3 years away. Jacksonville is awful. Houston, I think, is going to take a big step up this year. If they can get themselves a top-notch quarterback, I think they'll be dangerous, especially with J.J. Watt on the defensive side of the ball. And also, the kid from South Carolina, Jadeveon Clowney, finally getting a full season under his belt. Out in the AFC West, the Broncos are still the cream of the crop over there. I think Kansas City might be a 9-win team this year. San Diego, this is a really interesting year for San Diego because there's been a lot of rumors about them being the other team that's going to go to Los Angeles. But that's a story for another time. As far as what is going to happen with them on the field, could this be the year that we see the Chargers take a little bit of a dip back? Because Phillip Rivers has been kind of sort of regressing at the position for the last year or so. So it could be that the Chargers may have to look to their future. Now, as far as the NFC is concerned, the Eastern Division is a 2-team race. It's the Cowboys and the Eagles. I think the Cowboys are slightly better because of their quarterback. I think they have the better crop of receivers. I think they're going to miss DeMarco Murray a lot more than they're letting on because they need that go-to guy to take the load off of Tony Romo, who really showed me a lot last year. As far as the rest of the division, the Giants are going to be awful. Washington's going to be progressively worse, especially with the distraction of Robert Griffin III and what's going to be happening with him. Sorry, but Kirk Cousins is not the answer either. Kirk Cousins is garbage. This is the Cowboys or the Eagles division to take. In the NFC North, the Packers are the cream of the crop. I think they repeat in the North rather. I do think that Minnesota is going to be much improved. Detroit might be taking a real step backwards, especially defensively with Ndamukong Suh out. Still pretty dangerous offensively with Matt Stafford at quarterback and Calvin Johnson at receiver. Other than that, Chicago is starting the John Fox regime. I think they might be better in the next year or two, but they've got to get rid of their quarterback. Jay Cutler is complete garbage. As far as the NFC South, this could be another 2-team race between the Falcons and the Saints. I think Tampa's in rebuilding mode, especially with Jameis Winston at quarterback. And also, Carolina may not be as great as people think, especially after winning the division with a 7-9 record last year. Right now, the Falcons, who, by the way, have Dan Quinn as their new head coach, and the Saints, who still have the ageless wonder Drew Brees at quarterback, might be battling it out for the NFC South this year. As far as the NFC West is concerned, Seattle, by far, is the team to beat out west. I do think Arizona might be able to give them a little bit of a challenge, especially now that Carson Palmer is back from his major knee surgery. Defensively, they're very sound. St. Louis and San Francisco are in complete rebuilding mode right now. San Francisco especially, now that they had several players retire or leave via free agency, the only saving grace for them is that they have Colin Kaepernick at quarterback. So it looks like he may have to take the brunt of the carries now that Frank Gore went to Indianapolis. So it's going to be really interesting to see who complements Kaepernick in the backfield. As far as my Super Bowl pick to come out of the NFC, this could come down to either Seattle, Dallas, or Green Bay, really battling it out for the NFC title. I still say Seattle is the better team out there, so I'm going to pick the Seahawks to come out of that NFC, which means a Seahawks versus Colts Super Bowl in Santa Clara, California this year, where they're going to have the 50th anniversary of the Super Bowl. And I still say that the Seahawks are the better team, so I think they win their second title in the last 3 years. As far as the other happenings in the world of sports, it's September, which means that baseball teams have officially expanded their rosters to more than 25. Each team made their September call-ups. Interestingly, the Yankees decided not to bring in Aaron Judge, who right now has emerged as the best hitting prospect in their system. It could be that maybe they want to go a little slow with him as opposed to what they've been doing with Greg Bird, who basically has been getting a baptism by fire, although he's been holding his own a little bit. Don't let his low batting average fool you. As far as the Mets are concerned, they have that big lead in the NL East, but just remember what happened in 2007 when they had that 7.5 game lead with 17 games to go. Anything is possible, but right now, the Mets are playing reasonably well. They're just coming off that series in Florida against the Marlins. If they can hold their own against the Nationals, and that's another thing, the Mets have mostly Eastern Division teams left in their schedule and the second edition of the Subway Series with the Yankees. If the Mets can take advantage of that soft part of the schedule, maybe they could earn themselves an Eastern Division title. And right now, things are looking pretty solid for them. But again, they've got 3 weeks left in their season before we can talk turkey, if you will. As far as the Yankees are concerned, they've got 2 big series coming up with the first-place Toronto Blue Jays. The Yankees have got to win every game in that series. The Yankees also have teams against the Eastern Division coming up, in addition to the Subway Series with the Mets and 1 series with the Chicago White Sox. If the Yankees can get the majority of the wins against their division opponents and the Mets and the White Sox, they might guarantee themselves at least a wild card. But right now, the Blue Jays are looking more and more like the team to beat in the Eastern Division. They've got a set of mashers in their batting order, which can just intimidate pitchers at any time. And their pitching staff has gotten so much better now that they have David Price to go along with Mark Burley, and if he can win a road game, Drew Hutchison. You need teams to win road games in order to win a playoff series, and that might be the one Achilles heel for Drew Hutchison right now. He stinks on the road. His ERA, last I checked, was about 9. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Yankees and the Blue Jays when they have their 2 series against each other. As far as the National Hockey League is concerned, preseason is right around the corner. I would say at least a week or 2 away before they start playing the preseason games, and the regular season will begin in October. So this is going to be a really crucial time for the Rangers, who are coming off a real disappointing loss to the Lightning in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Islanders, who are going to play their first season in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center after 43 years over at the Nassau Coliseum. And the Devils, who, by the way, are going to be without Bryce Salvador, who is now in retirement because of numerous injuries. The Devils, again, appear to be in rebuilding mode, and this is also year 1 of the post-Lou Lamoriello era, if you will. So this is going to be a very interesting time for them. And going back to college football, going back to football, that is, college football has officially begun its season. They started as of this past Thursday night, and they had a whole slew of games taking place over the weekend. And I would say in about 15 minutes from now, they're going to have the Ohio State-Virginia Tech game on national television. So this is going to be the year that Ohio State proves to themselves exactly how great of a team that they are. So that's officially going to do it for us, folks. Thanks to Kenny Graham on the other side of the glass. Thanks to my guests. Thanks to you guys for watching at home. So for everyone here, I'm Jamie. Enjoy the rest of your Labor Day evening. Good night, everyone.